I started studying by night because of the neighbor below. I am a student at a university. I am 35 years old and have a house in a different town, but am currently living part-time in a student corridor. The corridor is built 1955. Sounds will travel through the building. I am a quiet type of neighbor. Almost never listens to music, mostly studies on my computer. I read and drink tea. Lots of tea. Most of the time, I'm not even there. Only a few days a week/month. In my area, this is the cheapest accommodation you can find. It does its job. I am quite happy about it. Then, a new neighbor moved in below. One day, she knocked on my door and asked me if I used the new furniture cups she gave me. What furniture cups? The one I left in your mailbox. I explained to her that my mail comes to my house, meaning I only check the mailbox once a month or so to get the student newspaper. I get the furniture cups and puts them on my chair. She left them together with a note about me making loud, inappropriate sounds. I do not. Whatever. I'll use them, if it helps her. Fact about the chair. The chair itself is part of the room, since I rent it furnished. I am not buying an office chair on wheels for her sake. Not happening. One day later, she finds me on Facebook and is upset my chair is still making sound. She also informs me to stop moving furniture around. I do not understand WTF she is saying. She also states she want to compromise by asking me to sleep at the same times as her, 10 in the evening to 8 in the morning. I inform her this will not happen, however, I will get a carpet. She says it's not fair I get to make sounds so that she can't sleep. Says that it makes it impossible for her to focus on her lectures by day. Next time I am at my house, I take a small carpet with me. When I get back, she still complains about the sound and wants me to study sitting in my bed. I inform her I will not do this. Not that she has anything to do with it, but I have an actual permanent back injury affecting my nerves and I will not study in my bed. I need a chair. She starts banging at the ceiling every time I make a move. If I use my kettle, if I use my chair, even if I use the bathroom, she obviously wants me to be as quiet as I am when I am not there. Then she complains to the landlord. They email me about it being prohibited to make loud sounds between 10 in the evening to 8 in the morning. I explain politely to the landlord that the girl downstairs is insane. They are understanding and inform me they will try to speak with her. I also check her Facebook profile. It says she is studying law. For some reason I find this kind of funny, because she acts like the loud sound rule can be used to interfere with me, actually using my room like a normal person, and has quoted the landlord's rules about loud sounds after 10 like it's Swedish law or something. It is not, and it would take a lot more for the landlord to do anything. She also reminds me about lawyers I have spoken to in my work life that tries to use their title to get better treatment than normal clients and threatens you if you don't comply. Yesterday I got back from my house after 3 weeks studying from there because I need to get to some seminars, examination and stuff. 20 minutes past 10, she start making banging sounds at the ceiling. I am 35 years old. I normally go to sleep at midnight at the latest. I am not some party animal like some of my other neighbors, who are nice people by the way. I have had no real plans to begin living like when I was 20 and was up all night. Well, I guess I am not studying in the mornings like I planned to. I am going to begin studying by night every time I am here, and especially if she starts hitting her ceiling. Usually the course I go to begin quite late on the day, so this is not an issue. I blocked her on Facebook. Yelled at for doing the job I was hired to do. This happened about 20-ish years ago, when I first started working as a lawn irrigation tech. I had been called to fix a leak in a customer's front yard. I told her before I started that it would require considerable digging and damage to her grass. She had left for a while to run errands. By the time she got back, I had excavated the broken pipe, leaving a 3-foot x 1-foot hole in her front lawn. I was in the process of repairing the pipe when she came over, screaming at me for tearing up her yard. Now, I'm normally very good at de-escalating situations like this, but nothing I tried worked on this broadzilla from hell. After several attempts to explain the necessity of digging a hole to fix an underground pipe, she told me to just leave. So, I grabbed my tools, threw them in the back of my truck and got in. She stormed into the house and slammed the door behind her. As I started to back out, I noticed that in her haste to come chastise me for doing the job she hired me to do, she had put her purse and car keys on the hood of my truck. I gently backed out of the driveway and drove the 2.5 blocks to the highway on-ramp. They finally blew off the hood somewhere about 5 miles down the road. I never heard from that customer again, but always wondered if she ever found her purse and keys. Scurrying to sit next to the boss? Well, now, that might not be possible. We have a managers meeting twice a month. Biggest suck-up, BSU, always scampers in to sit next to the boss, who of course is at the head of the table. One time, I had a private meeting with boss before the main meeting, and so had my computer at that BSU's fave next to boss spot. When I came back from the John, my computer had been shoved over so BS could park his buns next to boss. I and my colleagues have an agreement. We get there 5 minutes early and take the seats closest to boss, leaving BSU at the far end of the table, Siberia. He's tried to get in even earlier, but our rooms are auto-locked until the person scheduling the meeting swipes in, shared conference space. So, I've changed over the meeting host to myself and swipe in 10 minutes before, where 4 of us plant our computers in those magic 4 seats, then I swipe out of the room, relocking it. Even he won't shove 4 computers out of the way. He's taken to dialing in on video now, so that his fat face can be seen directly opposite of boss. It's still really funny, and we've expanded the sit block to more members of the team. And every once in a while, the video fails. Ah well. Unplanned revenge. As a child, my younger sister was quicker, a capable liar, and would usually win any dispute. We'd be about 9 and 8 years of age. A big favorite of hers was to kick me under the table. I'd kick back and she'd say, "Ow. Why did you kick me?" Father would clip me. I'd say, "But she kicked me first." His response, "Doesn't matter, boys don't hurt girls," and she would smirk back at me. I'd fall for the trick frequently, obviously a slow learner. One day in an idle moment, I scratched my initial on the leaf of my mother's favorite plant. A rubber plant? Yeah. I mean, how stupid can you get? For some reason, this was a big thing, and my mother had a go at me. Panicking, I lied and said, "Do you think I'd be silly enough to put my own initials on the leaf?" Mother, who knew my sister better than Dad, concluded not even I'd be that stupid, and sister was punished. It was one small win, but even now, decades later, it will still make me smile. Threaten our livelihoods? We'll make you pay. This is a story my mom told me about my grandfather that happened in the late 1950s. Keep in mind that it was a different time back then. My grandfather worked as a milkman his whole life. His company's brand of milk was considered one of the better brands available, and for a very long time it was only available via Milkman. It was not in any grocery store. Much to the grocery store's dismay. The local grocery store kept asking, and then begging, the dairy company to please let them sell the milk in their store. Finally, an agreement was made. The milk would be sold in the store, but with a small markup compared to the cost of delivery, so people would have an incentive to keep using the milkmen. Where the dairy company went wrong was the agreement on price was not in writing. So while the price of milk started with a markup, that markup soon went away. The dairy company complained, but nothing changed. The grocery store kept the price at the lower amount. Well, the milkmen in particular were not happy with this. This was threatening their livelihoods. So, they all talked amongst themselves and made a plan. Throughout the next day, they gathered up their wives and kids and all headed over to the grocery store. Every adult grabbed a cart and started filling it with anything and everything non-perishable they could think of, from as many different aisles and shelves as possible. As each one finished piling their cart as high as humanly possible, they'd wheel it to the front, leave it there, and simply walk out. Soon half the store's items were now go-backs, piled in a ton of carts, with the shelves looking bare and ragged. The next day the milkmen checked the price of their milk in the store. No change. Their little demonstration hadn't worked. So, they felt they had no choice. They stepped it up a notch. They now started taking all the perishables, anything that was supposed to be kept cool, cold, or hot, and started redistributing these items for the grocery store. The ice cream belongs behind all the cereal boxes, right? And this fish should be put behind the cans of peas. The leaking steak goes on the top shelf behind the chips, etc., etc. By the end of the day, the grocery store was looking at a ton of wastage, while praying that they'd found all the starting to rot meat and fermenting dairy before things started to smell too much. The next day, the milkmen went back to check the price of milk again. The markup had, for some reason, been added back to the price. Nothing more was ever said about it from workers of either company, but that markup stayed on the milk from then on. My uncle, who liked to make fun of me, chipped his tooth. When I was a teenager, I had braces and also got a nose piercing. My uncle thought this was funny and would joke about me having enough shrapnel in my face and the such, to which I always laughed, but he was very persistent in pointing it out every time I saw him. One day, my uncle chipped one of his front teeth somehow. It was still broken when we visited next, so when I saw him I took the opportunity to say, "You gotta stay out of those hockey fights, uncle," to which he just grumbled and changed the subject. I don't think he commented on my face metal after that. Wake me up early in the morning? Okay, two can play that game.
Guiz.
I'm typing on my phone again. So sorry in advance if there's formatting errors. I've, 26M, been working for the past 2 weeks straight at work, getting up at 4 in the morning to get there. Yesterday was my first day off, and I was looking forward to sleeping in and catching up on my sleep. My mom, 59F, however, had other plans. It wasn't even 8 in the morning when I woke up to the sound of a vacuum going off right outside my bedroom door. I was shocked that my mom was being so inconsiderate, but more than anything, I was mad. I wasn't able to get back to sleep, so I gave up and got up for the day. My mother, on the other hand, did the exact opposite. As soon as she was done with the floors, she sat down in the recliner and napped almost all day long. There was only so much inconsideration I was going to take, so I told myself I would have my very petty revenge. You see, my family has cats. Half a dozen, to be exact. And every morning before I leave to go to work, I'll give them some breakfast so they don't go bother my parents and wake them up at 4:30 a.m. I sleep with my doors shut most of the time, while they have to leave theirs open because they have the litter boxes in their bathroom. This morning when I got up to get myself ready for work, I ignored the cats, ate my breakfast, and shut myself in my room to watch some anime before leaving for work. Not even before I got dressed, my mom was knocking on my door, asking if I fed the cats. I told her no, and I could hear a big sigh from the other side of the door before she said that I should really feed them before they wake her up. I know that once my mom's awake, she has a hard time going back to sleep. I smiled to myself the whole way to work this morning knowing she was most likely up for the rest of the day. I hate my neighbor's dog. We have a new next-door neighbor. Their dog will bark and continue barking non-stop anytime it detects motion or hears any sound from our side of the fence. This includes motion in our own bedroom since our fence line is only 5 feet away from our window. When they first moved in, we gave the dog the benefit of the doubt assuming it was just adjusting to its environment and nervous about its new surroundings. But it has been 3 months and it still barks non-stop. Have we tried addressing it with the neighbors?
No.
We have seen our neighbors outside of their house on 3 occasions, and each time they have avoided making eye contact with us by all means possible. Today, I have had it. It is gorgeous outside, and we decided to let the fresh air in by opening the windows. The neighbor dog did not approve of this idea. Its continuous, ear-piercing bark echoed throughout the house. I decided to whip out my camera and film the dog as it barked at me through my bedroom window. I recorded a 20-second video to send to my friend, but when I played it back, the dog started barking even harder as it heard its own voice coming from my phone speaker. Boom. Idea. I sprinted into the living room to grab the JBL speaker, turned the volume up to full blast, and left the video of the barking neighbor dog playing on a loop from my bedroom window. The dog is going to bark one way or another. Might as well give it something to bark about. Don't say you're going to do something and then not do it. Went to a Model United Nations with the debate club when I was in school. The teacher who led the club gave up his weekend to take us, so a thank you card was inevitable, and I was the only one organized enough to get it done. Brought the card in on the last day, all positive reactions. Got a bunch of signatures just on the train to the venue. One of the girls made a bit of a show of saying she'd sign it later when she had more time. It was a bit odd. We weren't doing anything on the train, and it only would have taken her 5 seconds. But if she didn't want to do it at that moment, I wasn't going to force her. But then I asked her again at lunch, and got the same excuse. I asked again at the end of the day when we were sitting around waiting to be dismissed, explaining that I needed to give him the card soon, and this was her last chance. Same excuse. I was fed up by now. I'd initially planned to give him the card privately at school the next day, but one of the others who was oblivious to the whole thing said I should present it to him in front of everyone while we were waiting for the train home instead. I played along, knowing how much it would annoy the girl, and did just that. The look on her face when she realized I'd given him the card without her signature was priceless. I think she would have started a fight, but remembered not to be an idiot in the middle of a train station. Small but sweet. Have a neighbor. Nosy neighbor, we shall say. Always watching what is going on and making comments. Rigged a 12V blinking red bulb to a power supply, and a timer so red light would blink in basement window each evening. Not bright. Barely noticeable throw frosted basement window. Never knew how or even if he noticed until a party where a friend of his asked me what was with the light. He lives further away and can't see the light. I play dumb and ask what light. The red light is driving your neighbor crazy. I win. The one time I was rude to a bartender. This took place around 15 years ago. I was out with a bunch of colleagues on and we were at a pub in the city we all lived in. Two of us went up to the counter. Is this the correct word? English is not my first language. Where the bartender was on the phone. We get it. They do need to take phone calls from time to time. It could have been someone who wanted to make a reservation or something like that, and it wasn't a busy time of the evening. However, instead of signaling to us that she would be with us in a minute, like, make eye contact and hold up a finger, she gave us a look as if we were disturbing her and then demonstratively turned her back against us and kept talking. Since no one else was there to serve customers, we had to wait for her to finish the phone call. When she did, she went over to us, rolled her eyes at us and with an annoyed tone said, "Yes?" My coworker ordered a beer and got that. I asked for a Smirnoff Ice. She scoffed and said, this time in a very condescending tone, "We don't sell that kind of soda-inspired beverages here, you know?" I said, "All right, I'll just have a Coke then." Once again she rolled her eyes and gave me a Coke that she kind of slammed on the counter a bit for me so I would have to lean over or take a step to the side to reach. I decided to take a small revenge on her rudeness. I usually don't carry cash, but this time I actually did, and it was all coins. So instead of paying with my card as I usually would, I used the coins instead. I held them in my hand, but just as she reached for them, once again with an eye roll, I slightly twitched my hand so the coins fell in different directions over the counter. Oh, the look she gave me. My coworker applauded me, and we left the place as soon as we finished our drinks. So you outraced the older lady. I'll take care of that. I got the opportunity to carry out a small petty revenge this afternoon when I went out for lunch. I went to a local grocery store and picked up a couple of things to eat for lunch. Of course, there were only two lines open, a 20-item or less and a normal line. I had worked my way up to being the next customer in the 20-item line when someone from customer service announced that it was open to help people. I figured I'd just wait, since I was next, and that I'd likely be beat over there to check out anyway. I looked up and saw an older lady, late 60s, making her way to customer service when two college-age ladies/kids raced over, getting to the counter just before she did. Anyway, I paid and started walking out to my car, and I hear a conversation start up behind me. Did you see that lady? She was pushing real fast trying to get over there. I know. I, ran over there and threw my pretzels on the counter. They were both laughing about it, but seemed to keep following me. I unlocked my car and saw that they were getting into the car just past mine. I hurried up to get my car started and started backing out real quick, buckling my seatbelt as I backed up. Once I got moving, I took my time backing up and then driving in front of them down the road, delaying their opportunity to back out. They back out and quickly catch up to me. With them behind me, I went about as fast as a late 60s grandma would drive until we turned different directions out of the parking lot. It's the small things in life that bring a smile. And to you, Grandma, I got them back for you, at least a little bit.